Houthi-led mines continue to claim civilians' lives in Hodeidah. The United Nations says 4 children die every day in Yemen due to the conflict. Heads of diplomatic missions in Yemen stress the need for de-escalation. Good evening. You are watching Yemen Today TV. I'm Abir Ali and thank you for watching. A new massacre took place in Hais district after Houthi mine exploded. The mine explosion has resulted in killing 3 citizens and 1 other wounded. Our reporter pointed out that the victims are laying at the medical point of the 7th Brigade and arrived covered in blood. Another one was given first aid and 1 taken to Al-Makhar to receive the treatment.
Today in Hais, a mine was exploded which targeted 4 civilians. We are fed up with this criminal militia who do not respect even the religion, and they keep continuing their crimes. The whole village is exposed to landmines. We've had a heavy explosion and we went to see what happened. And we found that 4 people were injured. 3 of them have been killed and the other is still in critical condition.
أنا خارج ألعب قهوة أصحابي وهو الرمو علينا إن إحنا لو نرمو قعلي أصحابي صاروا يدعوا أصحاب المخيم بجيني صاروا شايفين. صعب إنه معي شنو رجل ما أقدرش ألعب مع أصحابي أبقى داخل ألعب بالليل.
أصلاً الولد ما قلب ما بدهم أي حاجة ولما يشوف أصحابه يلعبوا هما برجل واحدة يتعقد الولد على الحركات والزمان. هذا أثر علينا كلنا الوالدة والوالد.
كنت قاعدة نروح المصيف كنت ألعب كورة وأجري برجلي وألعب مع أصحابي بعدين أبي صغير والآن ما أقدرش.
The United Nations estimated the number of child soldiers recruited into the rank of the Houthi militia at about 4,000 over 8 years. The UNICEF said this figure covers the cases verified by the organization, which shows the real number of child victims may be much higher. War in Yemen kills 4 children every day, but safety requires more than a truce. This report has more.
Over 11,000 children have been either killed or wounded in Yemen since 2015, according to UNICEF report. This number only includes UN-verified incidents. The real number is much higher, but experts say these figures will have no effect on the warring party's motivation to put a stop to the fighting. Regardless, to ensure the safety of the country's children, much more than just a truce is required. Children in Yemen are not only endangered by airstrikes and gunfire, but from the effects of the war that can persist for a long time after the fighting ends. Children in Yemen die not only because of violence directly caused by the active war. The danger comes from many different directions, including starvation, lack of access to clean water, the destruction of health facilities, and the spread of preventable diseases. Children in Yemen are demanding warring parties recommit to preventing attacks and violence against civilians, as the conflict escalates with an average of 1 child killed or injured every day this year. Children from Taiz said that, since the end of the truce, they have a constant fear for their lives when they are playing outside or walking to school, and safety is their most pressing concern. The conflict in Yemen has been characterized by the intense use of explosive weapons, including thousands of airstrikes, artillery and mortar shells, as well as landmines and other explosive ordnance. These types of tactics have caused unspeakable harm to children, resulting in death, injuries, lifelong disabilities, and the destruction of civilian infrastructure. Children are paying the heaviest price of the war, and their security requires more than a truce, as Yemen's future depends on its children, and their safety is the true indicator of peace and stability in the country.
The malnutrition unit in Ma'rib Governorate faces the closure due to the lack of support, the absence of medicines, and the interruption of the salaries of the employees for more than 8 months. Those in charge of the center appealed to humanitarian organizations and the local authority to save the lives of children who suffer from acute malnutrition. This report has more details.
In this modest unit for malnutrition patients in Ma'rib, the 8-month-old girl Lema lies as a result of her acute malnutrition. Those in charge of the center say that her condition is getting more difficult, while the center is also suffering from the absence of medical supplies and treatments, a lack of nutrition, and other things. In the midst of this challenge, a mother finds nothing but patience, pain, and waiting after she moved her child from the displacement camp to many other facilities, the last of which is this center.
She's extremely weak. I brought her here to the center and they said she's suffering from acute malnutrition. I took her before to a medical unit in Al Jufaina, but her condition was getting worse and she lost 4 kilograms. Now the doctors here said she should stay in a complete rest for 5 days under a treatment plan. She also needs diapers and milk that I can't afford. We've been displaced from Hajjah for 2 years and 5 months now.
Many malnourished children come to this center, which is sponsored by the World Health Organization. But it faces the risk of closure due to the absence of staff salaries for more than 8 months, in addition to the absence of sufficient support, which cannot provide adequate care for these malnourished children. Here in the only sleeping section inside the center, mosquitoes spread heavily, without the slightest means of protection or closing the windows of the rooms with a suitable cloth. Some mothers were forced to provide mosquito nets for their children, while the children of other displaced women who could not provide them remained exposed to mosquito bites and dengue fever. That is also threatening the lives of these children.
We are suffering from a great lack of medicines and salaries compared with other institutions. The World Health Organization is supporting the malnutrition unit, but we are here asking for more support and an increase in the salaries of the staff. Their pay is so low compared to other employees in different medical units. The center receives around 42 cases per month. When the displacement ratio increases, the number of patients here in the center increases as well.
Amidst the alarming increase in the number of injured people in Ma'rib, especially in the camps for the displaced, which lack the minimum means of protection and the elements of food security, many children are afflicted with various and dangerous diseases, most notably malnutrition. The lives of thousands of displaced children are on the brink of an imminent humanitarian catastrophe.
The ambassador of the European Union and the United States of America to Yemen stressed the need to avoid escalation. This came during a meeting in Amman, and they encouraged constructive engagement with the United Nations envoy to reestablish and expand the humanitarian truce that ended in early October. Voice of America Radio said that the actions of the Houthi militia threatened to drag Yemenis into another cycle of violence and suffering. They revealed that the U.S. remains concerned that the Houthi have failed to set negotiations on a path to sustainable peace. They also mentioned that Houthis have instead taken actions that undermine peace efforts and threaten to drag Yemenis into another spiral of pointless violence. While jailed in Sana'a, journalist Tawfiq al-Mansouri was tortured for 45 days, along with 2 other journalists who he was sentenced to death by the Houthi militias in 2020, kept in solitary confinement for several weeks. This report has more details.
Journalist Tawfiq al-Mansouri was tortured for 45 days while jailed in Sana'a. He and 2 other journalists convicted to death by the Houthis in 2020 were kept in solitary detention and tormented for several weeks. Reporters Without Borders denounces the abuse and informs the United Nations Special Representative for Yemen that the lives of the journalists being kept hostage are at risk. 3 of the 4 journalists convicted to death by the Houthi rebels in 2020 were tortured for at least 45 days in detention. Tawfiq al-Mansouri is one of them. Since August, the prison administration has often pulled him from the cell he shares with other inmates, subjecting him to torture and violent beatings before placing him in a solitary confinement cell for extended periods of time. RSF has learned that al-Mansouri has a fractured skull and is not receiving the necessary medical care. Abdul Khalik Amran and Harith Humaid, 2 of the 3 other journalists facing the death penalty, have also been tortured and kept in isolation cells for undisclosed reasons. These are cramped, windowless basement cells at Sanaa's main prison, where they have been confined since 2020 with no access to hygiene amenities. They are not getting enough food and they are not getting medical treatment or monthly phone calls. The 4 journalists were kidnapped by the Houthis in 2015 and sentenced to death in 2020 by a court that was not recognized by the international community. This court convicted them unjustly of creating and maintaining many sites and pages on the internet and on social media, with the goal of disseminating false and harmful information and rumors. The Houthis are presently holding 9 journalists captive in northern Yemen. Several of them have served their sentences but are still being jailed pending a prisoner swap. On December 7th, Yunus Abdus Salam, a journalist who had been unlawfully detained for 15 months and had been tortured and abused in jail, was ultimately released by the Houthis.
Coming next in the news. An exhibition of electronics held in Hadramaut to empower families economically.
نشن ندي ماء من الغيل والغيل هذا بعيد، كنا ندي بالدواب نعبي ماء وترجعنا. كنا ننزل الساعة 5 رجعنا الساعة 9.
ما يجي إلا ظهر لأنه زحمة ما حد لي يخلي الجهل يغرق وإحنا تعبنا زيادة.
وكنت أحس صدري يوجعني وعز قدرك ركبي يوجعيني.
كنا ما نستخدم حتى نغسل أولادنا إلا يعني بأيام معدودة.
كنت أغيب على المدرسة لأن كنت أروح الديمة.
حتى وإن كان يجي الأمطار تروح هدر لأنه ما في معي غزالة.
الوقت نشتري ب30,000 هي معها استهلاك ما يغلقش معها الشهر.
بس راح تطلب الله ولا أي حاجة، عاملة كل شغلك على الماء.
Welcome back. The United Nations approved the implementation of the first phase of the project to establish a fund for local council in 3 governorates. It's scheduled that the first phase of the project will be implemented in the governorates of Aden, Taz and Ma'rib to implement development projects with a focus on infrastructure projects. Economic sources confirmed that the commercial activities have become monopolized by the Houthi militia. Sources in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry said the majority of companies have not made profits for years and are struggling to survive under an illegal tax system. They added that private sector institutions and companies are subject to extortion by the Houthi militia, which promoted them to reduce their activities. A ship carrying fuel for Aden power plants arrived at the oil port. Shipping sources said that the ship was carrying 45,000 tons of diesel for Aden power stations. Aden has witnessed continuous power outages cover the past weeks due to depletion of fuel. Due to the high cost of treatment, a community initiative organized a philanthropic event, the proceeds of which would donate to children receiving medical care at the pediatric hospital in Aden, the city's first center for maternity and child care. This report has more.
Due to their families' incapacity to pay for the necessities of their care or even the fees of hospitalization, many young children are exposed to different diseases. Given the high cost of treatment, a community initiative worked to put together a philanthropic event, the earnings of which would be donated to the children who are receiving medical care at Al Sadaqa General Hospital in Aden, the city's first center for maternity and child care.
This feast is held annually to assist pediatric patients in the city. Al Sadaqa General Hospital receives people from Aden and from all governorates, including people displaced from northern governorates. Most of the patients we receive are in difficult financial situations, and we try to alleviate their suffering through hosting community initiatives.
The initiative was adopted by the Association of Friends of Pediatric Patients in the city of Aden over a period of 16 years. It sought to secure the minimum and basic needs of hospitalized sick children.
This is the 16th year that the medical staff in Sadaqa Hospital have hosted charitable community initiatives.
The significance of this philanthropic event comes from the fact that the majority of these kids and their families travel from places outside of Aden and spend exorbitant amounts of money to receive life-saving treatment. This work may seem simple according to some, but it has a significant place in the hearts of those who benefit from the money it generates, since it frees them from the weight of diseases that plague their children.
The Yemeni riyal recorded a new loss against foreign currencies in Aden. Banking sources said that the value of buying $1 rose today to 1,167 riyals and the Saudi riyal 310 riyals. From last Thursday until now, the increase amounted to 26 riyals and 7 riyals respectively. The first exhibition of online stores is an opportunity for economic empowerment of productive families towards helping them with limited income. This report has more details.
Huda is one of the many productive families with limited incomes and owners of online stores that have had an active participation in the first exhibition of online stores that took place in the city of Mukalla, the capital of Hadramaut. Huda took this exhibition as an opportunity for her to display her products.
When I first opened my store, thank God I had many customers. I created an account on Instagram and WhatsApp. The account got more recognition. However, I faced many struggles like a good shipping company, but despite this, I was able to overcome this issue.
This exhibition was made to show the importance of unifying and displaying local products in a modern way through social media, which contributes to promoting and marketing them in a way that benefits these productive families.
This exhibition is for online stores to display their products. The exhibition includes about 15 stores.
Many products were included in the exhibition, like food, sweets, and pastries, in addition to various handmade products such as these paintings and gifts and accessories for decorating homes.
There are many stores that display many different products such as food and perfume. People work so hard on these products and they have customers that come to them from different places.
Encouraging low-income productive families and owners of online stores and urging them to continue their work and contribute to the promotion and marketing of their products is what enhances the importance of these local online stores and their small projects and their contribution to economic empowerment, and provides them many opportunities to develop the activities of these productive families, which requires active continuity that serve Yemeni women so that they can achieve a better future.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Houthi landmines continue to claim civilians' lives in Hodeidah. The United Nations says 4 children die every day in Yemen due to the conflict. Heads of diplomatic missions in Yemen stress the need for de-escalation. This is the end of the news. It was Abir Ali, and thank you for streaming with us.